what would you say would be top 3 issues to run for today? Like the other day, President Biden said the most biggest enemy to America is white supremacists, which is very weird. We're going through all this stuff right now. You want me to be worried about white supremacists? Okay, fine. Maybe it's a top 50 issue. It's definitely not a top 5 or let alone number 1 issue that we have. We know military-industrial complex is one, Ukraine, Russia, totally get that. What else would you put as a top 5 issue we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, I mean, this issue we're talking about certainly is at the top of the list. I think the second issue is immigration and securing our borders. We cannot have a nation without secure borders. We are seeing the consequences of President Biden's open border policy that's impacting us in just about every way. We see the national security threats of having an open border, people literally streaming across the border from all around the world without any kind of vetting or background. We don't know who's in our country right now. We don't know what kind of threats they may be posing. There's obviously the economic impact, the social welfare system impact. There are so many layers of negative consequences that come from their policy. And the third would be focusing on bringing our economy back, focusing on actually truly supporting and investing in, our small businesses, the people that are often touted as the number 1 employers in the country and yet have the hardest time starting and staying in businesses, actually focusing on what is in the best interest of the American people rather than what they are focusing on, which is themselves and their power to the detriment of the country. I think central to all of this, just to wrap it up in a foundational and fundamental way, is truly supporting and defending our freedom and civil liberties, because we are seeing that erosion in so many different ways. Without our freedom, without our civil liberties, we really lose what is at the heart of what it means to be an American in this country.
Where would you put climate on that list? Because I think at one point you were a proponent of the Green New Deal.
No, I never was, actually, and got some crap from the Democratic Party for it. I'm a strong environmentalist. Is why I ran for office in Hawaii in the first place back in 2002. Protecting clean water, preserving natural resources, preserving our open spaces, conservation of those resources is essential. Advocating for and promoting things like regenerative farming versus factory farms, like actually making sure that this planet that we live on can stick around and help us survive is incredibly important. Unfortunately, what we're seeing with this climate change movement is something that really isn't even addressing all of these things that are essential for us to be able to exist and survive.
What about the part of the Inflation Reduction Act? That was the largest investment in climate change that we've ever done. Did you think that was a good move? What are your thoughts on that?
No.
Why is that?
I oppose that legislation because it had nothing to do with inflation reduction, first of all. So it was sold on a lie. And
so funny.
And
marketing.
I think that's literally all it was. And they couldn't even stick with their own story on it. They kept on calling it exactly that, the greatest climate. Oh, no, wait, sorry. People care about inflation. Let's just call it the Inflation Reduction Act.
But there was a component of it, whatever it was, $200 billion that was dedicated to climate issues. Was that something you were an advocate of?
I don't see how, I did not see how what they were advocating for would actually address these basic environmental concerns that are very real in this country. Yeah. I think a lot of people who are advocating for those things, if you look at their own personal life decisions, there's a lot of hypocrisy there too.
I think the reason why Adam's asking that question is because he's deeply concerned with the humidity in Miami. Yeah. And he was hoping you wanted to do something about it. Yeah, so but that's, it
Miami
is what it is.
Miami and Hawaii, it's, tough out here.
So, by the way, Tulsi,
I just want to mention on the climate change question, what's the name of the author who wrote Jurassic Park? Famous author.
Michael Crichton.
Crichton. He wrote a book, and I can't remember the title right now, but he wrote a book like 20 years ago, fiction, it's a novel, but it was about exactly what's happening today, where just like we have the military-industrial complex, he didn't call it this, but it was kind of like the climate change industrial complex of people manipulating information and narratives and quote-unquote scientific data in order to support their own industry, essentially. And anyway, it's a fascinating book. And
State of Fear?
Yes.
Okay.
It's almost like the climate change version of 1984.
Yeah,
George Orwell.
almost. And
Wow.
it was in. I just read it. I listened to a lot of audiobooks while I work
Is
out.
it
so
worth listening to?
it really is,
Okay,
because
there we go.
there's some, it's a novel, so there's some action, there's some thriller stuff in there, but when you look at the heart of it, it's just one of those eye-opening and kind of insightful things.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.